Hello, welcome to the first episode of Car Thoughts.
Yes, car thoughts.
Car Thoughts, this is a spin-off of the Assembly Critics.
This is our new segment for
A
the
new
podcast.
Unfortunately, Aiden's not here for various reasons.
Yeah, Aiden can't be in the car, so it's just us two.
So, what we were talking about today is the Vietnam War
baby.
and the political side and the military side.
Alright,
So,
you start us off, Israel. Start us off good.
the reason why the Vietnam War didn't get much support is because a lot of people thought it was an unjust war, just to get back at the commies.
That's true. That's true.
It's true. It's true. Because a lot of people thought a lot of the hippies and the people back home in the north and then in the big cities, they thought, oh yes, these people are baby killers. That's not true, obviously.
Well,
Of course.
it is to some degree.
It is to some degree. There were war crimes were committed, but just calling the soldiers coming back home baby killers and spitting on them is...
I'm not calling it unjust, but definitely at the time it was definitely shunned on if you didn't do it. You know?
Yeah.
Especially in places like that were mostly, I guess, very against the war, right?
Yeah.
Like what?
Los Angeles, New York, Chicago. But yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. Do you have anything to add, Corey?
Not really. I mean, it's just like, look, were people that were against it, and then there were people that were for it, which was pretty much the Midwest and the South, right?
And there's reasons why they support it. Because the South has known to be to have a strong military tradition dating back from the Revolutionary War. Because if you look back at a lot of Southern family trees, including mine, you'll see that a lot of family members have served in the war.
That's right.
Coming from the Revolution to the Indian Wars, the War of 1812, to the Civil War on the South, obviously, and then you have World War I, World War II, and then the Korea,
Vietnam.
and then Vietnam. That's how it just is. That's the way of life it was back then.
That's right.
Exactly. And then also with the Midwest, you had these small town people who have these it's small town America. The heartland of America.
The common clay of the New West. Morons.
No.
uh,
But then all these because of the 60s and how the Cultural Revolution was happening, people started,
yeah, a lot of counterculture going on.
A lot of counterculture was going on.
What presidents were there?
There was Kennedy,
Alright.
Johnson, Nixon, Ford.
I wonder why the people didn't like it.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
Kennedy was a good president. LBJ was not that great.
Not good at all.
He was pretty racist.
What was the one after that, though? The real kicker.
Nixon.
That's right. The real deal.
A lot of people don't like Nixon.
Oh, yeah, I can see why. Watergate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But then the 70s happened, which was terrible with Carter, which just ruined our economy.
Then the 70s happened.
Then the 70s happened, which was just the prolonged 60s. The prolonged 60s.
Definitely the prolonged 60s.
A lot of things happened in the 70s. And mainly for worse.
Yeah, mainly
You had the
for
gas crisis. The economy was down. It was essentially Great Depression number 2.
Yeah, it was a small depression. Like
it was a small
2008.
depression. Exactly. But back to what happening in Vietnam.
Exactly. Back to Vietnam.
The reason why I believe is why we had to pull out was because of we didn't have
technology.
The bureaucratic system of the military and how it was, because it was always about
the draft.
The draft.
The draft doesn't work.
It really
doesn't. It was really on and off, especially if you had so many people going.
It started with the Civil War, I believe. Started during the Civil War, and then I think they got rid of it, and then they brought it back during the First World War, and then the Second, and then Korea,
and they got rid of it.
And then they got rid of it after Vietnam.
That's right. You want to know why? Because everybody was against it, because they had their friends and family going to war and then dying 3 days later, because they were inexperienced, and they were all idiots.
Well, because they had to rush training for the Vietnam War.
Because they were 18-year-old children.
Because I saw an interview of Arlie Ermy.
Really?
Yeah, he said that they had to rush training for the troops.
Of course they did. They got to get them out there. It's a draft.
He said if they had more training, they probably would have been better.
Of course they would.
Exactly. They were a lot of
Strength
bodybuilders.
and numbers. And
Exactly.
when it comes to strength and numbers, I'd say the country has the more numbers.
Mm-hmm. That's true. We had a lot with the Marines. The Marines were.
Oh my God, the Marines! They really
pushed the troops.
Mm-hmm. They really pushed them.
Compared to the Army, I think it was. Dang.
Damn right.
Yeah, and then you also had what other factors did you have?
We talked about the social. We talked about the whole
You
economic.
have to remember the commanders. Like you didn't have like those famous commanders like who Patton or MacArthur or Eisenhower or Omar Bradley. You didn't have those famous guys from World War II.
What does that do?
You kind of had these, you know,
In-breath.
stuck up high horse commanders.
You ever watch Full Metal Jacket?
Yeah.
It's that.
Have you ever seen what is that called? What is it? There's one TV show about the Vietnam War.
MASH.
No, not that one. That's Korea. That's Korea.
I know.
I forget what it's called.
MASH.
Tour of Duty. It's called Tour of Duty.
Tour of Duty. All right.
Yeah.
MASH.
If you ever watch that, if you ever see how the commanders act, how the system, how they act, it's as if they don't really care about the troops.
MASH. I can't.
MASH.
I said, the Vietnam one,
MASH.
real realistic. Yeah, MASH.
And then yeah.
My God.
And there was a lot of it's just and then you have to also think about the weaponry that was used. The M14 was a great rifle, but at full auto. Terrible.
It's like you're gonna shoot 3 of your friends, and then you're gonna shoot maybe one person other than your.
It's great as a DMR.
It is.
It is
great as a
great.
DMR.
It has a hard-hitting round, holds 20 rounds in the box magazine, and it's basically a combination of a BAR, Thompson, and an M1 Garand. That's what the purpose is for.
But you know who we have to blame for that?
Who?
NATO.
That's true. NATO wouldn't let him have a 30-06 Springfield. They would have. You had to make it 7.62 by 51 millimeter NATO rounds.
Fix your guns.
We should.
We should fix our guns.
Or we should go back to 30-06. But then they brought in the M16. And the problems they had with early M16s was that it was jamming, it was hard to clean, and
mud.
Exactly. Mud.
Mud.
Ah, yes. It's not going to work well in mud. But we're in Vietnam, where it's basically just swamp. Like the bayous of Louisiana. Any Cajun that served in the war probably was like, way back at home, monsieur. Hey, back at home, and I going down to the bayou and go get some crawfish and maybe get some gay there, my friend.
We are good men.
And then and they also had what else did you have? You couldn't bring tanks in because it was.
Well, yeah, it's a freaking island. Like it's like practically over past.
Exactly.
It's past Japan.
It's past Japan. It's where Cambodia is. It's where Laos is. That area is just basically jungle, all of it.
All of it.
And then you had the high terrain, and you couldn't get it through the rice paddies.
I mean, yeah, they had guerrilla tactics, which is pretty much just a better version of. I mean, it was pretty much unbeatable because, I mean, they had the home team advantage.
They had the advantage.
Yeah.
But a lot of Vietnamese were forced to join the NBA and the Viet Cong.
Of course they did.
Exactly. That's how the commies did it.
That's right.
That's how they got the manpower.
Mm-hmm.
And then
communism.
You also have to consider what the French did, because the French were there after World War II. The French had to deal with the Vietnamese uprising, and the French could not hold their own. Apparently,
French can't hold their uprisings down. If you will.
Unless they're Cajuns.
Even if they're Cajuns.
Cajuns beat the British in the War of 1812. You ever heard the Battle of New Orleans?
Yeah.
Exactly. They sent the British running.
That's true.
They were the Americans were outnumbered by the British.
I think it's our fault that the French suck.
Probably.
Ever since Ever since the Revolution, it's like, hey, you mind paying us back? Nah, that's good. You gave us independence, and then they were like, oh man, well,
Let's do what they did, but worse.
Oh no, we're a weakened state. What else? What will we do? Revolution time. Yeah,
I love
France
that.
is fucked.
Francis.
France does not know how to run a country, says
What's
the
wrong?
American.
Well, we do it better than they do.
That's true.
We're America, not Europe.
Europe knows how to do some things well. And all
They had 2 world wars and invented fascism and communism. I don't know how they survived this long.
They didn't invent communism.
Yes, they did.
Europe did?
Karl Marx is German.
I thought he was not Russian, but like East European.
He's German.
Yeah, that's not East European.
Exactly. You had the Russians, the Russian Revolution too, and then yeah.
Like,
but Europe cannot. Europe is a weird place. But back to the subject of which we're talking about.
Communism.
You also had, and then you also had a lot of
all those Vietnam communist again.
Because of Ho Chi Minh and essentially what happened to the Russians.
And you mean what's happening to Korea right now?
Yeah.
You know that we're technically still at war with North Korea?
I know that.
That's weird.
The reason why is because of the armistice that ensued during 53.
You're getting really foggy.
It is. For the viewers at home, it's raining right now.
It's raining right now, and it's a cold car, and we're really hot because
we're in Washington, so
it rains all the time.
That's why I want to move down south.
Army hardy.
Argue. Nay.
We are but men.
Yes. But yes, the same thing that happened to the Russians in 1917. A leader comes up, promises land, bread, and prosperity, and then you get the commie revolution. And you have JFK, he's like, I see a domino effect, and I don't think I like it.
You're
I see you're a commie. It's time to die, commie.
That's right.
Just a storm, Dick. Just a storm.
Just a storm.
Just a storm.
Somebody's breaking in.
Somebody's breaking in. What is he doing here? He posted cringe.
Why is he here? He posted cringe.
Actually,
why? Oh yeah, I remember now. They actually told us in the Black Ops 5 why they were there. They were discussing the broken arrow thing. Yeah.
My great uncle used to know Castro.
He did.
He was good friends with him too.
That was good. And did he eat ice cream with him? Then they're not true friends. That's what I thought. That's what
I don't know.
Then they're not true
I was
friends.
just told that
Didn't eat ice cream.
I was told that he was good friends with Fidel Castro.
Well, Israel. What else? We got a bit back on top. We talked about communism.
Let's talk. What else?
We talked about
the movements.
The movements.
What the movements were really about.
There were a lot of movements.
Well, what I know from the Chicano movement, which is just the Mexican American movement.
That's true.
I know that it was just communist. All of it. All of it was communist.
Very communist.
Like majority of those movements were just communist. Black Panther.
It's still recording.
It is still recording. Black Panther, the Chicano, all those movements were just communist.
Very communist indeed.
And that's why a lot of folks at home didn't like them.
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
Nobody likes a communist.
That's true.
Especially in a capitalist nation.
Ah, yes.
I mean, they didn't want to be capitalist at the time either. For some of them, especially in the way that the world was going, if you know what I mean. If you know what I mean.
I do.
Do you?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then.
Yeah.
And then you had all them riots and stuff, and all the protests.
Yeah.
It was a really hectic time back home.
Vladimir Lenin, John Lennon. You got any more Lennons?
Lemonade?
Lemonade? Yeah, I had a lot of people that were just anti-war, pro-communist, they were pro-communist, they were just like...
That's why why people didn't like them. That is why. Ah, yes. I don't like war, but I'm also communist.
There's this whole, like, PTS thing is... I mean, I wouldn't say it's
over-exaggerated.
I don't want to say it's over-exaggerated, because I don't really know. But at the same time, it's different than other PTSDs. That's why I feel like it's
compared to other wars. It's different.
Because when it came to like World War II, it was people rushing your camp. When it came to
you're in the jungle and you don't
Vietnam,
you can't see crap.
Jungle, you can't tell who's who. You kill civilians left and right at the same time as... Because you got to remember, this is the first time that people broadcasted what was going on in Vietnam.
Yeah, and you also have to remember that you didn't know who the enemy was.
That's right. That's right. And when somebody said, "Hey, I don't like you," they just reported them to.
You had to suspect that everybody was the enemy.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is like.
And if you messed it up, it was for the greater good because you didn't want your men to die.
I was talking about in Vietnam, people would just like say, yes, you're. You know, like what was it called? What were we learning in English?
What?
Like the whole like.
The McCarthyism.
Yeah, McCarthyism. So people would just be like, "Oh yes, this person is a spy," and then they would go and torch their fucking house. You know,
seems sus. Gotta vote him out.
Spray of liquid death over their freaking thatch hut.
Napalm.
And then they died.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But that's how it was, right? That's how it was.
Because you had Agent Orange. You familiar with Agent Orange?
Yes.
One of the best secret.
Agent Orange, napalm.
Agent Orange is fucking terrible, man.
It
They
is.
said, "Oh, it's non-toxic to people," and then they poured it on plants, and everybody died. You're like, what the fuck? What was that? It was like air. What's the Air Force thing called?
Napalm?
Not napalm. No, it's like an air. It's like a bombing run. It's a very famous name.
I don't know.
Oh fuck, I can't remember.
What is it? What do you mean? I don't remember.
Oh, forget it. I'll figure it out. I'll think about it. Figure it out later.
Well, the fighting was also very, very.
It was ferocious.
It was very close combat.
Very close combat.
Compared to the other wars, like the First World War and the World War II in Korea,
where they're just getting out of doing trench warfare.
We just got If you look at World War II, it's very different because World War II, you knew who the enemy was.
Exactly. The people in the other uniform, the people on the other side of the line, you'll know where they are because they're right there.
Exactly. And I feel, it wasn't that close combat because I think
because it was in cities. It wasn't in freaking plants. It wasn't in mud. It wasn't in a swamp.
Same thing with the Pacific during World War II. It wasn't like Vietnam at all.
Not at all. It was on a freaking beach.
Yeah, because you had the U-boats going onto the beach.
Those U-boats, man, I love them U-boats. Those U-boats.
You had the boats going on the beach. I think my great grandfather, I think they sent him to the Pacific because he got drafted in '43.
It's like looking like D-Day. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
Delicious juice.
I also had the psychological things going on in the Vietnam War.
Guerrilla warfare, man. That's the biggest thing. Because we had a lot of troops, but they had more. And they didn't need a lot for guerrilla warfare. So, I mean, if you want to win a war, you get a lot of people that can do guerrilla warfare quite well, you win. Hands down.
It's like how
especially in a jungle.
Yeah.
Nobody is ready for a fucking jungle.
That's true. Except for maybe the World War II veterans. If they're in the Pacific.
That was in the Pacific. And you gotta remember, this is a muddy jungle. This ain't no beach. This ain't no Kokomo type dealy do.
That's true. Still similar because the Japanese also, you remember it.
That's right.
You know, they colonized a lot of East Asia.
They colonized. Japan colonized like all the
Korea.
islands.
They went over there with China.
Korea, most of China.
They did a lot of stuff.
The Philippines, all of the islands in the Pacific.
Yeah, and then we're like, hey,
except for Hawaii.
Why? And they're like, bomb. They're like, I don't like that. Time to die. And it's like, oh no, oh no, oh no.
What is nuke? You'll see. 30 years.
Like, hey, we're like, time to die.
Time to die.
Hey, you're whistling?
They got little flyers beforehand, remember? And then we showing like the fire bombs, right? And they're like, oh no, we're gonna. It's not like the Japanese
didn't know what was gonna happen.
It's not that they didn't know what was gonna happen. They just didn't. They
didn't care.
The whole big thing with nukes is like, oh, it shows the danger of war.
Exactly.
That's for idiots. That's not true at all. The nuke did not show the dangers of war. Nuclear armaments showed the amount of destruction
that one
thing can hold.
Exactly, and we did it because
Partly
because we had to do it. Because,
those are the old nukes.
Yeah,
Those are the old nukes.
But the reason why Truman had to do it is because he didn't want to send all those boys up into Japan, because that would cause a lot of more deaths. You have to remember, the Japanese at the time were following the Bushido Code, and if you know what the Bushido Code is,
oh god, the Bushido Code! I fucking love the Bushido Code.
Where you die if you don't die it's better to die in the heat of battle. In the heat of battle, it's more honorable to die that way.
It's true though. It is more honorable.
I mean, that's what the South was.
Commit fucking seppuku, because you're got to be honored to the emperor or whoever it was. But
then, because that's why we had to bomb them. But also, we want to show our strength to the communists, the Russians, the Soviets. That's another reason why we wanted to do it. What?
It's 20 minutes. We go sun us out.
The sun is out.
And I said sign us out. It's been 20 minutes. It's like I'm super fucking drunk and I've just been drinking tea for
You've been drinking sweet tea.
Yeah.
Sweet tea.
I'm so fucking tired. I'm like drunk. It's weird.
Well, we did do conditioning at tennis practice.
It was only conditioning. I don't even know why you brought your racket.
I don't know. Just be prepared. But yeah. That is what happened. That is
just
just
I'm all wet.
Well, that's our pilot for the new segment.
That's our new podcast. That's our new segment. I gotta edit this later.
If Aiden could be here, he would. Maybe,
I gotta make some new shit.
If Aiden could be here, he probably would.
Why did I choose to be the editor?
I don't know.
Probably because nobody else can. Because I have a computer and
you have the equipment. I mean, you could also use. I could use WeVideo on my Chromebook.
And that's not even close. Besides, he gives a put a big watermarker on the video and at the end, and you have to edit that out with WeVideo, and that doesn't really work.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the pilot. Thank you for listening for the segment. Goodbye.